Hey guys, Shutters and Triggers here, coming at you with a camera review. This is the Mamiya RZ67 Pro II, and I have the Winder 2 here with it. I'm just gonna talk about a couple of things up front. I'm gonna reference and compare this a lot to the Mamiya RB67, and I will annotate that video right now. And I'm going to kind of compare and contrast these two cameras and talk about why I now have an RZ when I used to have an RB. And when I reviewed the RB initially, I talked about why I wanted that one instead of this one, and I've changed my mind since. But first, before we do that, I'm going to go over kind of talking about the camera, show you the controls and how it works, and I'll show you the back and everything like that, and we will go from there. So we're going to do this in a second. But first things first, you have it's a relatively large camera. Looks very similar to the RB. It weighs a little less, not considerably so, but a little less. Nice lenses on them. Has a flip-up waist-level viewfinder. Pretty standard on cameras like this. And focusing. You have your Alright, your f stops are right here on this ring. Your shutter speeds are controlled back here on this dial. So this is how you would be holding it, and you've got your shutter speeds here and your f stops here on this ring. Here's your viewfinder, which you can see down in there. Yep. You can see the light flashing. Now there's two lights. There's an orange and a red one. The red one is telling me that the dark slide is in, and the orange is telling me that it hasn't been cocked. And the reason that the camera is saying that it hasn't been cocked is simply because there's no film in it. It has a focus lock here. That's what this lever is. So that flips up and it frees your focus. Now, just like the RB, it has a bellows focus, which allows you to get a pretty close focus distance. You have a scale here that illustrates that. On the right-hand side of the camera, here, you have two focus knobs. You have a coarse and then a fine focus knob. I actually use this quite a bit. I find that to be really nice to just kind of rough in your focus and then fine-tune it. On the viewfinder, before I forget, it also has a flip-up magnifier, which helps quite a bit when focusing. One of the other big features that this camera has that the RB does not is the RB has a cold shoe, which means it's basically a place to hold a flash or hold a pocket wizard, whereas this camera has a hot shoe. So what that means is, let me get a pocket wizard here. When you mount a wizard to it, like so, and you fire the camera, you'll see it read. Oops. Okay. So you can see the red light on there. It should read with no cords attached. With the RB was set up exactly the same way, except that you had to run a cable from the connecting port on your pocket wizard up to the PC port on your lens. You don't need to do that with the RZ. So let me take this off. Those are the new Pocket Wizard Plus 3s, by the way, which I'm really digging. Another feature that may not seem like a big deal to you guys, but it is once you kind of get practically working with the camera, is on the RZ there was a place for your dark slide that kind of slid down here and held it. you'll notice that there isn't anything along there, because what they have done is they have adopted kind of the standard dark slide holding channel on the back of the film back, like so. Another huge feature of this camera is that on the RZ, or I'm sorry, excuse me, on the RB, you had two types of backs. One was a manual and one was an automatic. So when you fired your picture, you would wind the camera and then you would wind the back. And I already kind of gave away the difference. On this camera, when you fire the camera and you go to cock the shutter, it also winds the back. So that isn't necessary. Like you can do everything in one motion now. You have a rotating back system. This here is for multiple exposure, and then if you want to rotate the back, you'll notice it's locked down now. You flip this to rotate, and it rotates, simple as that. And then as soon as you touch the shutter, it flips back to center. In the viewfinder, let me show you this, you'll see the black edges, and then when you rotate, those switch and they come back down from the top and the bottom to give you a landscape as opposed to portrait, which is kind of nice. Let's flip that back. You have locking lugs here for your camera strap. There's one on either side. I use a black rapid camera strap that just screws into there. And then another kind of interesting feature here is on your shutter speed dial you have stops and half stops, but then you also have a AEF setting, which will work for an aperture priority if you have a metered viewfinder, which you can get, and then you have an RBL, which stands for RB lens. So if you're like me, and you initially bought the RB thinking it was the camera you were going to use, and you then decided that you wanted some of the RZ functionality, you can still use your RB lenses on this camera. You just set it to the RBL on here, and then you work all of the functions on the lens itself. Let's see. The camera itself breaks down very easily. There is a locking collar. You always want to make sure the camera is cocked. There's a locking collar on the lens here that rotates, and then the lens comes free. On the film back, there is a lever on the bottom that, once your dark slide is in place, like so, you flip that lever and the film back comes loose. And then you're left just with this camera shell, and then there you can pinch here and your whole viewfinder will lift free. And then I can continue to break it down from here and pull the focusing screen out if I chose to, but I'm going to leave that in. And then putting it back together is just as simple. Oops. Yeah, that's right. Locking it down. And then the film back, I have found that the film backs can be a tad bit tricky to just sort of seat on there correctly. But there's that. The motor drive here can be had fairly cheaply, and it's just a really simple motor drive, and it takes 6 AA's. So I have 6 lithium AA's in there. I don't anticipate them running dry anytime soon. But the way that this works is on the bottom of your camera you have this little door. Oop, I'm not quite in focus. There we go. You have this little door which slides back to expose a little gear or cog in there. And then what you do is your motor drive mounts on top. And then you just tighten this locking nut down. go, and you are mounted. For my uses, this seems like a tripod accessory to me. If I was shooting on a tripod, I can see how this would be really useful. For hand holding, not so much. But you can see it winding the film there. And it's going to keep going because there's no film. But essentially what you can do is just actuate the shutter here, and then every time you shoot, it's just going to wind it really quick. This won't move at all. It'll just wind your film. So it's a nice little accessory, great for studio or fashion or something like that. I had it because I bought my camera used from KEH, and it wasn't really that big of an expense. But you could probably do without it if you're going to primarily be doing street photography. So that is an accessory that is available to you, as is a metered prism, a 90-degree prism, like I said, additional film backs. I bought, and I thought I brought it up here with me, but it's exactly the same. I bought another 120 film back. They do also make 220 film backs. And then I have a 90mm lens, which is a standard on a 6.7 format camera. Let's see, what else am I forgetting? It takes a really odd battery. This is a 28L battery, and this is about an $11 battery cell. But this runs just the sensor in there, and kind of gives you a status updates on, if you're, I don't know, if your dark slide is in the way or something along those lines. But it will run the meter if you have the meter attached. If you do not have the battery, I believe that the camera reverts to 1 shutter speed, and then you have to replace the battery to get your functionality back. Sorry about that, guys. My camera died in the middle of recording this. So I was talking about the battery and how if the battery runs dry, it will lock at a 400th of a second, and then you need to replace the battery in order to get your full range of the electronically controlled shutter back. The one thing I wanted to point out that's really great about this camera is these lenses have leaf shutters built in, so the shutter is actually in the lens itself. If you're not familiar with a leaf shutter, it operates like an iris, so it closes entirely, opens up and closes. And what that does is it allows you to sync with a studio strobe or a flash of any sort at any shutter speed, all the way up to a 400th of a second. So you can really control your ambient light in a strobe setting. But yeah, that's a leaf flash. Each lens has it. The lenses also have a ability to do a mirror lockup. So if you were to screw a cable release into this port, it will lift it slightly off and disconnect the release from the lens to the body. So when you actuated the shutter via the body, it's just going to flip the mirror up on the inside, and then you with your cable release will hit this, and this will fire the leaf shutter inside of the lens itself. That way you don't shake the camera at all if you're doing a long exposure at night or a landscape or something like that. I made the choice to switch from the RB even after I thought that it wasn't going to be the camera that I wanted, simply because this is a more modern camera. It is digital ready if you wanted to put a digital back on it. It's lighter. It allows you to shoot faster just because it's only one motion to advance to the next frame as opposed to 2, unless you had the motorized back for the RB. It has the fine focus, which I really liked, and it also has the film backs are a lot easier to understand, and they have an ISO marking here so you can keep track of what speed film you actually have in the camera itself. The film backs are easier to load. So you take the film back off the camera, and it opens along this side with these 2 latches, and you flip open and you have the shell and the cartridge. This is the film back cartridge. And this will be your take-up spool, so when you finish a roll, the way that you're going to find it will be like this. And so then what you will do is you will remove this reel from here and take it away, and then there will be a blank one on this side. And all you do is you push down on here and it lowers, you can see it lowers the bottom cog, so you can take it out and switch. You wrap the film around the back. I'm sorry, you put the new roll in on this side, you wrap the film around the front into the take-up reel, and then you can wind the take-up reel and align the marking on the roll paper with this arrow. Your finished roll will be on this side, which you'll remove and put your take-up reel back over here. Sorry if that was confusing. And then the back just simply sits into the cartridge. Or, I'm sorry, the cartridge sits into the shell here. And it takes a second just to get it all lined up, just the way it's supposed to go. There we are. Those close, and then you can wind it to advance to the first frame. And then the back will naturally go onto the camera, and you are set to shoot another 10 frames with 120 or 20 with 220. Let's see. I think that's it, guys. I don't think that I've forgotten or left anything out. It's a lot of camera to talk about. There's a lot of things to go over with this thing. It's a very functional, high-end studio piece of equipment. If you have any questions or if I've left anything out, please let me know. Let me give you a weight on it, just so you know what you can expect to be carrying around. Okay, so the camera with a 90mm lens and an empty film back weighs in at about 5 pounds. So that's a lot. That is quite a bit to carry around your neck, but it is very doable, and it gives you a very high quality piece of equipment and a very large negative, or positive. That is the, here, let me, alright, that is the size. You can tell, you can see 6x7 of the film, the image capture that you'll get. So that was Provia 100 for those of you that care. But I think that's it. If you have any questions, please PM me or comment, and I will try and answer it the best as I can. All in all, I would recommend both cameras, the RB or the RZ. They're so close in price now that I always opt for going for the most modern camera I can, so the RZ might be the best bet. But if you don't want to have to rely on a battery and you just want a mechanically operated, consistent camera every time, the RB would be the choice for that. But if batteries aren't much of a concern for you and you want to shoot fast, this is a faster camera to shoot, hands down. So I think both can be had for $500 or $600 with all the accessories shown. So it's kind of up to you and what you want. I hope this helped you out. I hope you guys can make your camera purchasing decisions based on some of this information. And, you know, send me a message and let me know what you thought. Thanks a lot, guys. Shutters and Triggers, out of here.